This is what I have to deal with. This one, who went to Princeton, couldn't do that simple deduction. I mean, that's what I'm dealing with here, America. Do you understand? Like, I'm a simple man with not very many brains.
Hello and welcome back to Disney Marvels for week of August 19th, 2018. This is episode 18. Disney Marvels, the podcast about Disney, Marvels, Lucas, ESPN, and so much more. If it has to do with Disney, it's fair game. I'm your host, Matthew Graken. Now, on with the news. Mickey, the True Original Exposition, opens November 8th in Chelsea, New York. Billed as an immersive experience that marks Mickey's influence on pop culture and art over the past 9 decades, the exhibit will pack 16,000 square feet of space with historic and modern works inspired by the mouse. This was reported by the New York Daily News. The Walt Disney World Swan Resort is set to get renovations to its common areas. The hotel will undergo a $3 million redesign of its lobby, public spaces, and coffee bars this year. The hotel renovations will be done in multiple phases with an estimated completion by the end of this year, according to Orlando Business Journal. Disney has announced Disney Aspire, which launched on August 21st. It is the most comprehensive program of its kind, offering hourly employees a wide array of disciplines and diplomas with tuition paid up front. That is big. Most businesses pay it on the back end, but Disney is paying it up front. In January of this year, Disney Chairman and CEO Bob Iger announced an initial $50 million investment in a new and ongoing education initiative aimed to specifically at the Walt Disney Company's hourly workforce, not the contract salary ones. He said, "I have always believed that education is the key to opportunity." This was Bob Iger. "It opens doors and creates new possibilities." Well, those possibilities for more than 80,000 hourly cast members and employees of the Walt Disney Company in the United States, those doors are now unlocked with the launch of Disney Aspire, a groundbreaking education program for hourly employees in the United States. "I am incredibly proud that Disney is embarked in this historic launch," says Jane Parker, a senior executive vice president and chief human resource officer for the Walt Disney World Company, who discussed this new potentially life-changing program for hourly employees. Moving on to other news. The world premiere of Disney Channel's original movie, Freaky Friday, on Friday, August 10th, strangely enough, is the top-rated TV telecast for the summer amongst kids 6 to 11 and tweens 9 to 14. So basically, any kid from 6 through 14, they were watching Freaky Friday on that Friday. This ranks as the top cable telecast in 6 months amongst those two demographics. Construction of the Guardians of the Galaxy coaster in Epcot continues to move along. Thanks to WDW Magic, their aerial photos that they have posted on their site show that the roof has pretty much been completed. The same with Ratatouille. Both moving along quite well. After making her debut in the Season 1 finale, Criminal Minds star Paget Brewster is set to feature as a recurring guest in the second season of Disney Channel's DuckTales, the 2017 version of it, voicing the character of Della Duck. I should do a segment on Della Duck and the history of her. But I digress. The rarely seen sister of Donald Duck and mother to Huey, Dewey, and Louie. The character of Della Duck was first mentioned in a comic strip back in 1937, but hasn't appeared in animated form until her appearance on DuckTales Season 1 finale. Season 2 supposedly is expected later this year, and that's part of the rumors. Originally, it was supposed to be come out 2019. Now there are some sources claiming it will be coming out 2018. We shall see. Now, on with the show. Dateline, September 7th, 1979, Bristol, Connecticut. The Entertainment and Sports Programming Network launched onto the cable channels, billed as the worldwide leader in sports. This is the beginning of what is known as we call now, as ESPN. That's what ESPN actually stood for, Entertainment and Sports Programming Network. But let's fast forward a little bit in their history, because I'm talking about something a little more recent than giving you a complete history of ESPN. Fast forwarding to 1984, when the American Broadcasting Company, or as we better know it, ABC, bought 100% of the company from its original owners, which at that point now is known as ESPN. But let's move forward some more. Let's jump ahead to 1992, when ESPN expanded not just from the cable networks, but now is available on the radio as well, with shows as Mike and Mike, and simulcasting those shows on the radio and TV, and it continues to grow at this point. But shortly after that, in 1996, Disney acquires Capital Cities / ABC Incorporated, and ESPN part of that. And ESPN at that point continued to flourish. Or did it? A dark day of April 26, 2017, over 100 persons were released from the sports network. Celebrities, sports personnel, behind-the-scenes people. There was no bias. And again, in December of 2017, more cuts were done. It was a very dark day in ESPN history at that point. Even for Disney, that it was kind of cold, and the reason behind it was because of several years worth of declining viewership, and the PR, Disney's PR, blamed that on the cord cutters. Those are the movement of people giving up traditional TV services and opting to just go with streaming. So instead of subscribing to your local cable service or through satellite or something else, they just get their internet capability, or some of it just have their cell phone capability and stream everything via their phones or on TV through like an Apple TV or Nbox or Fire Stick or something like that. So how is ESPN going to combat this? The answer that they had arrived on April 12th of 2018, this year. It was called ESPN Plus, and on that date it launched as a subscription streaming service for the sports enthusiast. With a back library of documentaries, shows, and sporting events, plus streaming of current sporting events and exclusive shows, ESPN Plus is for all who need more sports in their lives. I'm sure a lot of guys out there can attest to that, and some people have no idea what I'm talking about. So now ESPN Plus is not just a replacement for the broadcast network. It actually is labeled as, it is not a replacement. They do claim that right up front. We're not replacing the ESPN channels, ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN News, ESPNU, SEC Network, etc., etc. I don't need to go on. But it is a supplementary usage. So you may ask, what can you watch on this streaming service, ESPN Plus? Well, the answer, my friend, keeps changing. And by changing, I mean it keeps growing. They keep adding content. You have the entire collection of the Emmy Award-winning 30 for 30 documentaries, even some that are now exclusively made for the ESPN Plus. You have current shows, and shows that become exclusive. They pulled them off of the networks and put them on here, like ESPN FC, Matthews Berry's fantasy show. Not that kind of fantasy show, people. Remember, this is a sports network. It's a show about fantasy football. And for all you fantasy football players out there, like myself, this is a show to watch and gather information besides from his podcast that he's on with some other great people. Stefania Bell and Field Yates and Secret Squirrel. But enough about them. What else do they offer? They have The Detail, a basketball analysis show. Like I mentioned, ESPN FC, which will now only be on ESPN Plus, used to be on ESPN or ESPN2. In the Crease, an NHL highlights and discussion show. MLS Rewind, which is a recap of weekly MLS action. And ESPN Insider now is going to be part of your ESPN Plus subscription, which gives you, besides videos, it will also give you a lot of written and magazine and articles and analysis ran up about different sports and more. It's something that is still evolving. Just like the sports content that's involved. Currently, you could get stuff like Canadian football, boxing, college sports, including Ivy League college sports, which that's a little more harder to come by. The tennis Grand Slams, international cricket, soccer or football, depending on what country you're listening in, including MLS, United Soccer League, English Football League, Series A, which is the Italian league that currently Cristiano Ronaldo plays in. So you get to Juventus and all that. You also got Everdravis. That's a tongue twister, I'm sorry. And UEFA Nations, the Asian League. Besides, again, soccer, football, you also have rugby. So you got Rugby Union, Barcelona Cup, Kerry Cup, Major League Rugby, Mitri 10 Cup, the World Rugby 7 Series. Beyond that, you have the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Yes, ESPN has a 5-year deal, which starts next year, 2019. This 5-year deal is not even going on now. It starts next year, that they have now signed exclusively with ESPN Plus. That they will be bringing their weekly fights and their tournaments and stuff available on there. So if you're an Ultimate Fighter type of person, be prepared to subscribe to ESPN Plus, because that's where you're going to get most of your content, and not even just the shows, but some analysis and stuff on top of that. So they keep on working to bring you more and more content. This is just, like I said, the current. There's just golf involved, and like tennis, and more series and documentaries. They even had a show about the Road to Russia, which was about getting to the 2018 World Cup in Russia. Obviously, that's now past tense, but so how much are you going to have to pay for this? What is the cost for ESPN Plus to get all that content and the new content that's going to be coming, and all the content that I didn't mention? That's another good question. ESPN Plus is available for $4.99 a month. That's for a month-by-month subscription. Or you could do a 12-month package, and you're looking at $49.99. So basically, you're getting 2 months free, more or less. Now, the real question, since launching in April of this year, how is the new streaming service doing? I mean, we want to know, is this going to be something that's going to be around? I mean, I don't want to subscribe to something, get into it, get hooked, and then it's gone. They're pulling it because not enough people are subscribing. Well, I did some digging around because I wanted to know that exactly myself. And nowhere was I able to find hard numbers because Disney is not willing to comment with hard numbers. But they are willing to say that they've been pleased. They've been very pleased with the numbers of subscribers that they do have. So take that as you will. I mean, they're at least being positive about it. It's not even just that, though. Doing a little more digging, the service performance must be doing well because Disney's Media Network segment, which is what ESPN Plus is part of the streaming service, had a 5% year-over-year increase in revenue. And a lot of that they attribute to ESPN Plus. So that can't be, that's got to say something. If your media network is showing a growth. Now let's remember, Disney had only a 7% year-over-year growth for this past year. 5% is almost the equivalent of, it is almost equal to what the whole company did. So that's actually, you're thinking that's actually not such a bad deal then. So how are they able to offer all this content for just $5 a month and still make money? Other streaming services, I mean, when you think about it, certain ones which will remain nameless charge 2 times, 4 times that. So that is a good question. The simple answer, despite the monthly subscription, is you're still subjected to commercials. So while you're watching something, a commercial is going to pop up just like you do on TV. This is outrageous, you may say. Yes, it is. But think of it, I just mentioned, just like when you're watching TV, don't you pay for your cable service, satellite service, Fios, whatever you have? Unless, I mean, you still have the rabbit ears and those are working great. You're getting free TV for those 20-some channels or less than that, depending on where you live. But otherwise, the rest of us have some sort of service that we pay to. And we're paying substantially more than $5 a month for it. And we're subjected to a lot of commercials. So in the end, is it really going to be that much different? So how does this affect people? What do people think? Well, another thing that Disney was able to comment on is that there's a high volume of people who try out for the weekly free trial that they offer of ESPN Plus, and they convert to paid subscribers. So those people don't seem to have a problem with the commercials, and they seem to like the content enough that they're willing to shell out, hey, I'll pay an additional $5 a month for ESPN Plus to have access to the ESPN Plus. So, is it worth it? That is for you to decide. I can't answer that. It depends on your love of sports, your love of ESPN. I mean, even if you don't necessarily like the sports, if you like some of just the shows that they offer, you're going to have a lot of access to theirs. Now, again, remember, this is a supplementary, it's not replacing ESPN and all that stuff. It's not going to necessarily have all the shows that are available on ESPN, like NFL Live and shows like that. Go Licking Wingo and that type of stuff is not going to be found on ESPN Plus, at least not currently. How do I watch this? Now, how do I, okay, you've thought about it, you're going to give it a try, or you're just going to subscribe. How do you actually get to it? Well, that you do through the ESPN app, which is available, or the versions that are available through Android smartphones, Android TV, Chromecast, Fire TV Sticks, Fire TV Cubes, Fire TV Smart TVs, Fire Tablets, Apple TV, Apple phones, and iPads. And my question to you, do you currently subscribe to ESPN Plus? Or are you considering subscribing to ESPN Plus? I want to hear from you. Let me know what you think of the streaming service, or why you're considering the streaming service, or why you're not considering the streaming service. And I'm not talking about the people just, well, I am not a sports person. You just wasted 20 minutes of my life talking about something I'm not interested in. I apologize to you. But in some ways, I mean, this is very much Disney related, because think about it. This is Disney's real first subscription-based streaming service. Why is this important? Answer. Very plain and simple. Next year, 2019, Disney's launching the Disney streaming service. This is basically not only some way to try and move ESPN, the company, forward and regain some of its lost ground over the past several years, but to test the waters and test the methods, their servers, the streaming capabilities, their IT people, etc., the programs, for their upcoming Disney subscription service, which we all know is right around the bend, less than probably 12 months away. So that's why, in some ways, ESPN Plus is huge. It's not just because of the sports, it is because of what it represents Disney. It represents Disney's plan. Moving forward, Bob Iger himself said he does not see a future in traditional television markets. The future is in streaming, and if you have a teenager or younger, you know that is the case. The TV is on, but they're not watching it. They're watching whatever they're watching on their phone. Us older people are still watching on the traditional television, or listening on the radio. No, they're doing everything through their phone, their tablet, their laptop, or they're streaming something on their TV. They're not watching the regular network stuff, or regular TV stuff. Like I said, it's the cord cutters. That's the way that Iger sees everything going. So this is why this is important. This is why, I dedicated an episode to it. So again, please, I want to hear from you. What do you think of this? Leave the information on our, go out to our Facebook group, facebook.com/Disney Marvels Podcast. One more time, that's facebook.com/Disney Marvels Podcast. Or you can even go over to the Twitter and hit us up there at Disney Marvels. One more time, on Twitter, that's at Disney Marvels. And let me know there. If you're not so much of the social type of person, or you have, even beyond that, if you have ideas for the show or have any comments, you can email the show too at disneymarvels@gmail.com. Once more, the email for the show is disneymarvels@gmail.com. This information is also available in the show notes. But please be sure to also share this show with your friends and family. And not just saying this particular episode, but the show in general. If you know people in your life that are Disney enthusiasts, please introduce this show to them. Let's bring the Disney family all together, as in celebrating something that we all do love and just means so much in our lives. And that's just anything Disney. Also, please rate the show. Go over to iTunes or whichever service you are listening to this or to us through. And while you're there, leave the review, please, 5 stars or whatever you feel you deserve. Leave a little comment. This is a Disney show, and Disney show about everything. Whatever you feel like, just please be kind. No need to be meaning bashing. But yes, please rate the show, because by rating the show, it will help promote the show and get people interested, and also the streaming services themselves. Speaking of streaming services, but the podcast services themselves will introduce or be more willing to promote the show. And speaking of which, while you're there, make sure you subscribe to the show. Click that subscribe button so that way you always know whenever the next episode comes out. I try to do this currently weekly. This past week was a little tough for me. I had a lot of things going on, but I still try to get these episodes out for you weekly. That being said, I hope everyone is doing well out there. I hope you're doing well. I hope this week has been relatively good for you. I hope this upcoming week is going to be even better for you. Thank you very, very much for taking time out of your day and listening to me, listening to this show. I know how valuable your time is. And you know what? I really appreciate your time. I mean, I know how crazy life is. And, trying to squeeze in a show, a half-hour show, or whatever this ends up being, it does take, it means you're not doing something else. And I appreciate that you are doing that. So this week, I'm going to leave you with a bit of trivia. And since we're talking about sports, I'm going to throw one out there about sports. But it does have to do with Disney. So what sport did Walt Disney participate in and love so much that he even created his own tournament? One more time. What sport did Walt Disney participate in and love so much that he even created his own tournament? I'll give you a hint. It was also a subject of a Mickey Mouse short with many celebrities of the time making an appearance. The answer? Well, you have to tune in next show. And on that bombshell, I'll see you next time.